Call halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashai, Waha, Rakakwadash. In Hebrew, that's giving all praises to the Most High Yahweh in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahawashai, who is our Lord and Savior, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles who taught us this truth through the power of the Holy Spirit. Honors to the brethren that's laboring, doing the work to push the gospel, risking their life and freedom to do so. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, which will be the one-third believers of the nation of Israel. You Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians who sincerely returning back to the Most High through His Son Yahweh Shai, so that He will have mercy on us and judgment. So we back with another lesson through the power and spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. This lesson here I did a few months ago, and it was titled The Great Whore, aka Lady Liberty, Babylon the Great. And it's up on a few of my channels. Well, this lesson here is going to be a part 2. It's going to be a follow-up. So this will be The Great Whore Part 2 in a sense. And this lesson is going to be titled, These Shall Hate the Whore and Burn Her with Fire. These shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. And that's speaking of how all these countries will begin to hate America, even America's closest allies, and eventually turn on her and destroy this place along with Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. But before we get into the lesson, we're going to jump right into Revelation, the 17th chapter. We're going to do a brief breakdown on the beast, which we must understand for the remainder of this lesson. The water to the elder brother Sagala for providing me with this visual. So we're going to start right at Revelation 17, verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, where I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast. And scarlet is just a shade of red. And we know red is a color that lines up with Esau, the so-called white man. When you read Genesis 25 and 25, and the first came out red all over, and they called his name Esau. Also, I think Genesis 25 and 30, when Esau said, feed me that same red pottage. Therefore, his name was called Edom. Edom literally means red. So this scarlet red colored beast is synonymous with Esau, the so-called white man, his various kingdoms. And there will be a woman that sits on top of this beast. But let's continue. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. This beast has 7 heads and 10 horns, which we'll have to break down in the next minute or two. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color. The purple represents royalty, America being the queendom, reigning over all countries in the earth. So again, the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color. What's the red color? That's her being drunken with the blood of the saints, putting to death the Lord's chosen people, and decked with gold, precious stones, and pearls, having all the riches of the world, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. So she's holding the golden cup, just like we see right here. And that matches up with the Statue of Liberty. There's no other statue in the world where there's a woman holding up a cup that represents her abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. So as we continue, and upon her head was written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. So all the abominations, the filthiness of her fornications, wickedness, all manners of evil, deceit, lies, and misinformation comes out of America. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, which we just said, and with the blood of the martyrs of YAHAWASHI. And when I had saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So in the spirit, John was seeing America. Now let's continue. And the angel said unto me, wherefore did thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, the angel is going to reveal the meaning of this beast and this woman. We're going to do a real quick review just to set up the lesson, to set the stage. We're going to read down to verse 10. The beast that thou sawest, actually, okay, so we're going to jump down to verse 9. Okay, which has 7 heads and 10 horns. You see this scarlet red colored beast got 7 heads and the 10 horns we're going to get into. So verse 9 is going to tell us what the 7 heads are. And here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. You see the woman is sitting here. Now, 7 mountains represent 7 kingdoms, 7 rulerships. And that's shown in the next verse. And there are 7 kings. Yeah, because a mountain represents a great people, sort of people that sit on top of the hill. They sit high above everybody else. So again, the 7 heads are 7 mountains, and there are 7 kings. So these would be the 7 rulerships of Esau: Germania Major, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germania Minor, the British, and the Greeks. And while it has 7 heads, you can think of headquarters. Like every kingdom, every empire, they got a capital. They have headquarters. And right now, let's continue. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Let's continue. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, the one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. That goes into the specifics of the different rulerships of Esau, the so-called white man. Let's continue to verse 11. Matter of fact, we're going to get 12 through 13. So we know the 7 heads will be the 7 rulerships of Esau, the headquarters, if you will. Verse 12, and the 10 horns, which thou sawest, are 10 kings. So the 7 heads are the headquarters, 7 different rulerships. Now the 10 horns that's on top of the heads of this beast, they are 10 more kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So in other words, these 10 kings would be different countries that are allied with America. And that would be the European Union: Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Greece, Ireland, England, and Germany. The EU has expanded to over 30 countries, but these will be the 10 horns of the beast, which has no kingdom, but they receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast because they allied with America. So America is sitting on the throne. She's reigning over the countries of the earth. These European Union countries, they have power to reign with the beast. They don't actually have a kingdom. They don't actually have an empire. They don't actually have a headquarters, but they ally with America. Let's continue. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So that's why we have NATO. And what is NATO? It's a military economic alliance. All these European Union countries, which you can add 20 more to the list today, and you can add Canada and the United States, which make NATO. It's a economic military alliance. They have one goal in mind, and that's why they have one mind, one agenda, and shall give their power and strength to the beast. Their power and their strength would be their military and it would be their economy. That's what powers NATO. The economy and the military might of all these different countries. So also too, we know who the beast is now. It's NATO, the military economic alliance. We already discussed that the gray whore that sit on top of the beast would be America, Lady Liberty. Now let's go down to verse 15. And he said, for to me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And again, this gray whore is America. America is sitting on top of the beast, reigning over the people of the earth. So that's why she's sitting on different peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. That's how people from all over the world, all different nationalities, races, ethnicities, they flock here to America. And this gray whore is sitting on top of these people. Also, too, we got to get Revelation 17 and 18 real quick. The woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Now, who's reigning over the kings of the earth? America, Lady Liberty. She's that great whore. America is that great city. America is like one big giant city. You got roads that stretch from the west coast to the east coast. Route 66. You got I-75 that takes you from Michigan all the way to Florida. You know, there's no walls separating the states, the different cities. America is like one big continuous giant city. It's all the way open all throughout America. So that's why America is compared to as that great city. And what's the slogan? Make America great again. All right, so now we actually going to jump to Revelation 17 to 16 before we kick off quite a few videos that I got. Revelation 17 to 16 and the 10 horns. And we know what those 10 horns are. It represents the EU, the European Union, because when it first started off some years back, there was only 10 countries. But again, there is now like 20 or 30 something. So the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So these 10 horns, the countries of the European Union that make up NATO, they're going to eventually turn on America, make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. But first, these different countries, the 10 horns that's reigning with America as kings, they're going to have to develop a great hate for America, for the whore. Now I got a line of videos we going to show to illustrate this. Like this one here. NATO anger grips Ukraine's neighbor. Moldovan MP throws blood on U.S.-led bloc's flag. So it's countries that's not allied with either America or Russia. You know, they just bystanders seeing what's going on in the world. They hate NATO and they hate America. Now just read the subtitles as the video play. You see, they have an anti-NATO protests around the world.
выступать против войны. А НАТО должно уйти на свалку истории.
Hey, so these countries hate NATO, but more specifically, America. Because remember, Revelation 17 and 18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So when we consider this visual, it's this great whore, America, that's controlling the beast, that's controlling these other countries. Yeah, they in power, reigning as kings with America, but America is using them as puppets to fulfill, to push the agenda of America. So we've shown you that these countries got a strong hate for America. Now we're going to show that the Lord is causing Europe to hate America. That's why the lesson is titled, These Shall Hate the Whore and Burn Her with Fire. And those who remember, Nord Stream pipelines 1 and 2 were blew up sometime last year. Those were pipelines that supplied Europe with gas and oil from Russia. But after the war in Ukraine broke out, America went and destroyed these pipelines so that they couldn't get oil and gas from Russia. And that didn't hurt nobody but Europe.
Our next story is about Nord Stream gas pipelines. Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, the undersea pipelines run side by side for 750 miles from Russia to Germany. Both of them run through the Baltic Sea. Let me explain now why this is important and why we're talking about it tonight. Before Russia invaded Ukraine, Nord Stream 1 transported cheap Russian gas to Germany. Cheap Russian gas was a big boon for the German economy. Germany also retransported this gas to Western Europe. The Nord Stream essentially was a symbol of heavy European reliance on Russian energy. Nord Stream 2, which was completed in 2021, would double that quantity. But last September, an undersea explosion blew up the pipelines. Take a look. But nobody... Hirsch claims that the US divers planted the explosives during the Baltops 22 drills. Remember, these are annual naval drills in the Baltic Sea, and the multinational drills are led by the US Navy. The drills also involve NATO countries. But the decision to detonate the bomb was deferred. That's what Hirsch's report says. Yes, the explosives were sitting with Nord Stream for almost 4 months, from June till September. And then on 26th of September, the kaboom happened, so to speak. A Norwegian Navy's P-8 spy plane flew a routine mission over the Baltic Sea. It secretly dropped a sonar buoy near where the explosives were. Sweden and Denmark confirmed the undersea explosion. Meanwhile, the US reaction was sort of celebratory. Here's what the State Secretary Blinken said back then. It's a tremendous opportunity to once and for all remove the reliance on Russian energy and thus to take away from Vladimir Putin the weaponization of energy as a means of advancing his imperial designs. That's what Blinken said. Now, with these new revelations indicating a US hand in the bombing, Moscow has renewed its demand for an investigation.
So pretty much, remember too, Biden said that he promised he can get rid of Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines. Now, also too, we got to remember that because those pipelines were blew up, that created an energy crisis in Europe. So this was a video that I'm not going to click, but it was titled Europe Goes Dark. So they was in an energy crisis because they was no longer getting cheap Russian gas and oil. So they had a dark winter. You know, a lot of people froze to death. They had to cut the lights off at a certain time. They had to cut their air conditioner off at a certain time. They had to cut the heat off at a certain time. They had a limited supply of energy. So that gave the European people a hard time because United States blew up that pipeline. They was trying to hurt Russia, but they only hurt Europe in the process because Russia's economy been booming since the war started. And also too, we're going to jump to this next video. And pretty much we're going to read the title, NATO Nations Battles Pro-Russia Uprising. Blood like paint thrown at European offices for arming Ukraine. So the people are protesting in mass numbers over there in Europe about this war that's going on in Ukraine. They don't want nothing to do with the war because all this did is destroy their economy, destroyed their infrastructure, put them in an energy crisis. They had a cold, dark winter. All right, let's continue. Hey, you see that? They burning the US dollar. They're beginning to hate the great whore, America. And this is happening in Europe. They want to break ties with America. So you see the drama that the Lord has created. This is the ultimate movie. But I got another similar video as well. We're going to let most of that play. And pretty much, America has been sending all kind of weaponry and tanks over there to Ukraine. The people in Europe is urging this government not to send any weaponry over there. Because out of people that suffered the most in the war, it would be Europe. They had an energy crisis. The cost of living went up dramatically. They had a cold, dark winter, a food crisis, a food shortage. Not only that, the European countries has already been hesitant about sending weapons over there. They like, we don't want to send weapons over there to Ukraine because Russia is pretty much right next door to Europe. And Russia has already televised how they could destroy Europe in 200 seconds. Some parts of Europe they can destroy in like 230 seconds thanks to their hypersonic nuclear missiles. So that really put Europe in a hard place. You know, should they help America in sending weapons to Ukraine and risk pissing off the Russians? Or, should they not piss off the Russians and not follow America and possibly get backlash and sanction from America? So you see this drama that's unfolding, that the Lord is creating this conflict between America and Europe. Now, this next video, NATO, U.S.-led West face protests in European Union nations for arming Ukraine. No tanks, no planes, no missiles. Now we're going to let this play out. So yeah, people are protesting against NATO, against America ultimately, because it's America that's sitting atop this great beast controlling NATO. So yeah, they chanting no to war. They want the war to be over. Thousands rallied in Berlin, too, with banners reading "No tanks, no planes, no missiles." All right, so I got one more video right here, and we're going to read the title of it. Here's why European leaders want to reduce dependency on U.S. So they want to be independent of America, meaning do their own thing and not follow everything that America does.
Now let's talk about something else that China seems to be disrupting: the US-Europe bonhomie. French President Emmanuel Macron was in China over the past few days. He held talks with China's Xi Jinping. He discussed the war in Ukraine and the tensions over Taiwan. But it was also a business trip, a way to get China to sign more trade agreements with France. And what was the outcome of the trip? Not too many tangibles. China refused to condemn Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. It refused to make any assurances regarding Taiwan. In fact, as soon as Macron was out of the Chinese airspace, China began its latest round of drills around the island. But both Macron and the Chinese media are hailing the trip as a huge success. Why? Because both sides believe it was a shot in the arm for European strategic autonomy. First, let's understand what that is. What is European strategic autonomy? It means that the European Union is acting independently of the US when it suits European interests. It means the EU not following America's lead in all conflicts and behaving like an independent global power.
Y'all heard that? Now I'm going to summarize some of the things she just said. She said that the European Union countries want to act independently of the U.S., that they want to pursue European interests and not American interests, not following America's lead in all conflicts, because in all conflicts all around the world, America got their hand in those conflicts, and they drag Europe into all of these different conflicts. That's like you got a friend that's starting fights with everybody, and you cool or got no problem with most of these people, but they always putting your name in the mix. That's what America's doing to Europe. Now, I'm going to briefly backtrack 13 seconds just so we can hear all that again.
European strategic autonomy. It means that the European Union is acting independently of the US when it suits European interests. It means the EU not following America's lead in all conflicts and behaving like an independent global power. The question is, can Europe afford to do that? Also, why is Macron championing this cause? Because he doesn't want to fight with China. Remember, the US has promised to defend Taiwan if China attacks, and China has promised to take Taiwan by force if needed. Now, Emmanuel Macron says Europe should not get caught up with this.
So Macron, which is the president of Germany, said that Germany should not get caught up in a conflict between America and China, that they don't want to fight China.
Washington has labeled Beijing as its greatest threat. It is fighting trade wars with China. And all of this affects Europe too. If European companies do certain businesses with Beijing, they face American sanctions. And this also limits Europe-China trade prospects. The French president wants to change all of that. So does German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. He went to China last November to discuss trade. But it's a tough balancing act. Europe depends on the US for military protection. Protection which seems imperative considering what's going on in Ukraine. So it can't really afford to anger Washington beyond a point. But Emmanuel Macron says the EU should not follow the US policy everywhere, that European nations should not become American vassals.
So yeah, the French president, said that they shouldn't be vessels for America, meaning they shouldn't be puppets, meaning they shouldn't have to follow everything that the US do, all the US policies, because they want to trade with China and trade with Russia, because they can get stuff from them way cheaper than they can get it from America, because America got to ship it across the ocean. So it's cheaper from Europe to do trade with China and Russia. They will all benefit in the process.
Because they will suffer in the event of a US-China conflict. It's typical Europe. Remember, China overtook the US as Europe's largest trading partner in 2020. We mentioned this last week too. Now, Europe is suffering a cost of living crisis, mostly because of the war in Ukraine.
And why? Because the United States destroyed those Nord Stream pipelines. So they're having an increase in the cost of living. And she also said that if Europe get involved in the war between China and the United States, that Europe is going to suffer because they can't do trade and they in the middle of a big war. The U.S. going to be urging them to send weapons and fight alongside them, which Europe is not far from China, so that makes all of Europe at threat of being destroyed.
And China's help will be essential in getting European economies back on track. So Europe is not very keen on this whole talk of decoupling with Beijing. They are more keen on what Macron is advocating. Ignore the US and keep dealing with China. It's like having your cake and eating it too. Just under the fancy label of European strategic autonomy. Now, of course, China wants all of this to happen as well. Trade with Europe would continue to boost China's economy. It also drives a wedge between America and its traditional European allies. It's a win-win for Beijing, really.
So yeah, Europe, is having a motto, ignore America, but keep trading with China. And China is all for it. It'll boost their economy. Also, I got this screenshot from one of the brothers. The water for y'all posting it in the group chat. I'm not sure which one of you brothers posted it, but let's read it. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has denounced as extraterritorial U.S. sanctions against various countries, saying the measure are against international regulations. So the European Union, a representative, is saying that the U.S. sanctions are extraterritorial and they breach international law. Meaning a lot of these sanctions that America is putting on these countries, they don't got the right to do that. It's illegal and it's outside of their policy. But America is just a big bully. And, Europe being allied with America, nobody gonna want to do business with Europe because they know they're allied with America. It's like you cool with people, but they don't want you around because, you got a friend that starts a lot of drama. And you see that a lot of those videos had a nice little soundtrack with it. That's because this is the Lord's movie. We see how this drama is unfolding. So back to Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns, which is more than 10 now. It's actually like about 30 countries. Which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. They shall hate Lady Liberty. They shall hate the daughter of Babylon. They shall hate America, and shall make her desolate and naked. It shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Now, this is all talking about the nuclear destruction. How the 10 horns, how these European countries would eventually turn on America, and they would shoot their nuclear missiles over here too, along with Russia, China, North Korea. Now we got a few more scriptures to show. So Job 20 and 27, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity. Yeah, we are the heavens. The men who's revealing the iniquity of the so-called white man in America, through this ministry. And the heavens also goes into the internet, because everybody on the internet is denouncing America, speaking up and speaking out against America. The earth shall rise up against him. Everybody's rising up against America. That's why you saw them throwing blood on the NATO flag. That's why you saw them burning up a poster of the US dollar. That's why you had Europeans chanting for peace. That's why you saw Europeans with Russian flags. They want the war to be over. Not to mention all these other countries are abandoning the dollar. That's the earth rising up against him, against Esau, but specifically the Edomites here in America. And we're going to jump to the book of Obadiah 1 and 7. All the men of that confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. And who are the men that was confederate with America? It would be the 10 horns, which is almost 30 now. It would be all the countries that make up the European Union. So all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee to the border. But, all the men that was once confederate with America, all the countries that was allied with America, the men that were at peace with them, they're going to deceive America, meaning they're going to turn on this place. And then Revelation 18, starting at verse 6, this goes into the destruction of America. Reward her. Who is this her? That's his great whore Lady Liberty. America, the daughter of Babylon. Reward her, even as she rewarded you. And double unto her, double according to her works. So all the treachery, all the misery, pain, and suffering that America has caused wrongfully, she's going to get it all back, but double. And the cup which she had filled to her double. So the Lord got a double cup of judgment for her to drink of. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. So, for all the good things America has had, all her luxuries, all her comfortabilities, all her time as being the queen of the earth, she's going to receive so much torment, sorrow, pain, and misery in her destruction all at once. For she saith in her heart, I sit as a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. So over here in America, they think that they'll never see a dark day, that they're going to reign over these different countries forever, that they're going to sit atop these different countries forever. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall utterly be burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahawah who judgeth her. So going back to Revelation 17 and 16, when it reads, these shall hate the whore, meaning everybody that was allied with America, everybody that was confederate with America, they will begin to hate this place. And we see how that drama is unfolding. And shall make her desolate, meaning completely destroyed, without inhabitant. And naked, naked will be the earth revealing their iniquity, showing all the BS and all the dirty mess that America has been doing. It's all being brought to the surface. Everybody is talking about it all around the world. Even the animals are rising up against this devil. That's her being naked, meaning you exposed. All your dirty laundry is out of the basket, and shall eat her flesh. Eating her flesh is not literal. It means that the missiles is going to dissolve the people here in America. Because what's the flesh of America? It would be you Americans. You're going to be devoured, destroyed, eaten alive by this nuclear destruction. And burn her with fire, that's the same thing. That all lines up with Revelation 18 and 8. She shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. But we still not done. And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her, meaning cry out when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So all the kings of the earth is going to see the destruction, the death of the great whore, being desolate, having her flesh devoured, being burned with fire, when they should see the smoke of her burning. Because the destruction of America is going to be televised. And people off the shores of America, around the waters of America, is going to see this place destroyed, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, which is America, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So in 1 hour, this place is going to be completely made desolate. All the people going to be devoured alive. America is going to be burnt alive. But that's about it. And that was just us showing, Revelation 17 and 16. And these shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. These being the 10 horns, which would be these different countries that's reigning as kings with America by being allied with her. All right, till next time, Shalom.